Nutrition, the study of food, how it nourishes our bodies and influences our health. Steps to scientific method: observation, question, hypothesis, test, repeat, report. Limitations to scientific method: no subjective questions, time, availability, money, morality, which is not controversial issues. Theory is a well-supported hypothesis. Types of experiments: epidemiological, which is large populations, human studies, which is case control and clinical, and animal studies. Nutrients are chemicals in foods that are critical to the human growth and function. Groups of nutrients. The major ones are macro, needed in large quantities of carbs, such as carbs, and micro, which is needed in small quantities, like vitamins and minerals. Energy yielding are carbs, lipids, and proteins. Non-energy yielding are water, vitamins, and minerals. Kilocalorie is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water to 1 degree Celsius. Energy yielding nutrients. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the primary source of energy, especially for brain and RBCs. They provide 4 kilocalories. Good sources are grains, veggies, fruits, and legumes. Lipids provides 9 kilocalories. It's insoluble in water. Good source of energy during rest and low impact exercise. Good sources are cheese, avocado, nuts, and oil. The proteins. Proteins are composed of amino acids. They provide 4 kilograms. Not a primary source of energy. The body's source of nitrogen. The functions are building cells and tissues, repairing damage, regulate metabolism, and fluid balance. Good sources are meat, dairy, seeds, nuts, and legumes. Alcohol provides 7 kilograms. Oh, kilocalories, I'm sorry. Non-energy yielding nutrients. Vitamins, which are organic molecules that assist in regulating body functions. Fat soluble is A, D, K, and E. Water soluble are the C and B complexes, which are less dangerous because they are excreted through the urine. Foundation of a healthy diet is 5 major food groups: dairy, protein, veggies, fruits, and grains. Balance from all 5 groups daily. Variation, moderation, adequacy, and nutrient density. More nutrients over calories, less calories. 6 steps of processing food: ingestion, digestion, absorption, elimination, which are all done in the digestive system, then circulation and metabolism. Digestion is oral cavity, which is mechanical. Teeth and scissors cuts food. Canines grab food. Molars and premolars grind food. The crown, equal above the gum, made of enamel. The root is below the gum, contains the nerves. Number 2 is pharynx, connects the oral cavity to the esophagus. Number 3, the esophagus attaches oral cavity to the stomach and transport the food by way of peristalsis. Number 4, the stomach contains 2 spinners, cardiac and pyloric, contains 2 cells. Parietal and chief holds 2 liters of food and liquid. The small intestines are 20 feet long. And the duodenum is 1 foot long. Most absorption and digestion takes place here. The large intestines, which is colon, H2O absorption, feces formation, bacteria produces vitamin K, 2 sphincters, anal, which is internal involuntary, external voluntary. Carbohydrates are monosaccharides and disaccharides and polysaccharides. The monosaccharides is 1 sugar unit, also known as a simple sugar, which simple sugars, glucose, fructose, galactose, and ribose, and deoxyribose. Glucose is the blood sugar, which fuel for the RBSs and the brain. The fructose is found in fruits and honey, turns to sugar when it enters the body. Galactose, which is not commonly found in nature, found in dairy and beets. The body makes this form of glucose. Ribose and deoxyribose, found in DNA and RNA. Disaccharides are 2 sugar units bonded covalently. Glucose in 1 sugar unit. 2 monosaccharides combined by condensation and dehydration. Hydrolysis breaks down of disaccharides into monosaccharides. Maltose is glucose plus glucose, which is formed when starches break down, produced during fermentation, found in barley. Sucrose is glucose plus fructose, also known as table sugar, found in sugar beets and sugar canes. Lactose is glucose and glucose plus galactose, which is found in dairy. Polysaccharides are multi-sugar units. Glycogen, which storage form of glucose in the body, in like the muscle and liver, not found in plants. Starch form of glucose, range in plants. Modified food starch and binding starch molecules to each other to stabilize them. Dietary fibers. The major structural part for plants intake is 20 to 30 grams a day. We cannot digest bacteria. I'm sorry, we cannot digest the dietary fibers, but bacteria can. Soluble dissolves in water. Insoluble does not digest in water. It promotes bowel movements too much. Can turn into diverticulosis, which is small pockets of air called diverticula. Diverticula formed in the large intestines. Problem with dietary fibers, they require large intake of water, need 50 to 100 grams of carbs to prevent ketosis. The major sources of carbs in Americans' diet, which is white bread, baked goods, milk products, soda, and table sugar. The body needs at least 50 grams of carbs to have complete metabolism of fat. Incomplete metabolism results in formation of ketones. Carbs spare protein as an energy source. When glucose is not available through the body is forced to make glucose from other nutrients. Examples, proteins and fats. Glucose is a form of gluconeogenesis, which occurs in the liver and the kidneys. Taking amino acids from proteins in the muscle, heart, liver, and kidneys and other organs to supply carbon needed to make glucose makes the organs weak and is known as self-cannibalization. Regulation of blood glucose. Normal blood glucose is 70 to 115 milligrams or 100 milliliters. Hypoglycemia is 40 to 50 milligrams or below. Hyperglycemia is 170 milligrams or above. The liver stores glucose in the form of glycogen. To regulate blood sugars only. And the pancreas. Beta cells produce insulin, promotes glycogen synthesis so that glucose can be stored by the liver. Pancreas also increases glucose uptake by the muscle cells, which is stored in the muscles as glycogen. Number 2, alpha cells produce glucagon, promotes glycogen breakdown in the liver, enhances gluconeogenesis, increases blood sugar levels back to the normal when low. Hypoglycemia is reactive 2 to 4 hours after eating a meal high in simple carbs, results in overproduction of insulin. The signs are irritability, nervousness, headache, and sweating. B, fasting is not eating. C, the pancreatic cancer, which results in the overproduction of insulin from massive amounts of the cell production. Insulin-dependent diabetes, mellitus. Type 1 is better known as type 1 diabetes, which is a juvenile onset at 8 to 10 years old. The beta cells of the pancreas are not functioning properly, not producing insulin. Can be linked to genetics, can be caused by bacteria attacking the beta cells or other foreign agents like protein in cow milk, which triggers an autoimmune response that targets the beta cells. Don't give children cow milk. Fixed by insulin injections, pills, and pumps. New pills that are destroyed by the digestive system. Also eating 3 balanced meals with snacks between daily. Insulin-independent diabetes mellitus. mellitus, which is type 2 diabetes. Adult onset around 20 years old. Most common form of diabetes is 90% associated with obesity and inactivity. Usually dissipates with weight loss. It occurs with insulin receptors on the cell surface stop responding to insulin plus glucose. It's not easily taken into the cells. Concentration of sugar increases the blood, which is hyperglycemia. It results in stimulation of beta cells to produce more insulin. When the beta cells are constantly trying to compensate, they begin to fail, which results in type 1 diabetes. How to test for diabetes: take the blood sugar before eating a sugary meal, and progressively afterwards. There should be an initial spike in glucose levels, but it should mellow out as time goes on. If diabetes goes untreated, sugar cannot be used outside of the cell. Chances of cardiovascular disease increases. High fatty acids, which are organic acids in the blood, results in the drop of blood pH, which is acidosis, which occurs because the body has to use fat for energy. Too much glucose and negatively charged ketones in urine pull water positive ions out of the body, which results in the ionic imbalance, dehydration, blindness, heart disease, and nerve damage, etc. Lactose intolerance. Lactose, the disaccharides glucose plus galactose is lactose, which cannot be picked up by a small intestines. It has to be broken down by the lactase into glucose and galactose, which can then be absorbed into the bloodstream. With age, stop producing lactose, which results in lactose intolerance. When lactose arrives in the large intestines, unaltered residual bacteria metabolizes it into an acid and gases, which result in production of gases, bloating, cramping, and discomfort. That is lactose intolerant. Causes: age, genetic disease, drugs. The diagnosis: drink 1 liter of milk. If blood glucose stays in the same before and after drinking the milk, you are lactose intolerant. Because if you are not, blood sugar should rise due to lactose being broken down into the glucose. The lactose then being absorbed into the blood. Proteins and polypeptides. Our proteins are made of combinations of 20 amino acids linked by polypeptide bonds. Major function is to form part of the body. Major components of the immune system. Soluble proteins are necessary for the fluid balance in the blood, especially in the blood. Types of structures of amino acids is primary sequence of amino acids connected by peptide bonds. Number 2, secondary, the helical coil of pleated sheath. Number 3 is tertiary, which is 3-dimensional shape. Number 4 is quaternary, which is complexing of 2 or more proteins with the globular structure. Denaturation, the destruction of 3D shape of a protein, which is an irreversible process. Factors that cause denaturation is high, low pH, high temperature, chemicals, and radioactivity. Protein synthesis, condone triplet chart, and know how to read it. Translation, taking the genetic code form from DNA and converting it to the sequence of amino acids. If a specific amino acid is not available, the protein construction process halts. The amino acids that are in short supply are known as limiting amino acids. This is the major reason as to why your body requires a large diversity in food. High quality protein and complete protein. These contain the essential amino acids in proportion that are close to the relative amount that the body needs. Proteins from high to low quality. Number 1, eggs. Number 2, milk. Number 3, fish. Number 4, chicken. Number 5, soybean. Number 6, nuts. Number 7, seeds and legumes. Number 8, grains. Number 9, veggies. Number 10, gelatin. Complementary proteins are 2 protein sources that together supply all the essential amino acids. Examples are beans and rice, bread and peanut butter, legumes and nuts, hummus and sesame seeds. Protein level requirements determined by age and level of activity and conditions. Sedentary adults require 0 to 8 grams of body weight. Athletes require 1.2 to 1.8 grams of body weight. Pregnant women, vegetarians require much more. Vegetarianism. Types of vegetarianism. Number 1 is semi-vegetarian, which avoids certain kinds of meat. Number 2 is lacto-ovo vegetarians, which avoid animal flesh but still consume dairy and egg. Number 3 is lacto-vegetarians, which avoid animal flesh and eggs but still consumes dairy. Number 4, vegans. Avoid all animal products. Lactating and pregnant vegans have to carefully plan their meals to ensure consumption of complementary proteins. Problems with vegetarianism is low in some vitamins and minerals. Examples: zinc, iron, calcium, vitamin D, vitamin complexes, which is B2 and B12. Must have a balanced diet and should use vegetarian pyramid guide. However, most vegetarian food provides the proper nutrients. Protein digestion absorption. Digestion of protein begins in the stomach. Hydrochloric acid denatures the proteins. Protein metabolism. Deamination. Amino acid loses its amino group. This amino group is either used to synthesize non-essential amino acids or becomes ammonia in the bloodstream, which is picked up by the liver and converts into the urea, which is less toxic than ammonia. Urea is then carried by blood to the kidneys, where it filters and becomes urine. Too much ammonia, it means the liver is not working. Too much urea means the kidneys are not working. Diseases of protein origin. Marasmus, results from severely inadequate intake of protein and other energy-yielding nutrients, again, which is self-cannibalization. It causes anemia and physical and mental retardation. Kwashiorkor, Kwashiorkor, results from lack of food. Causes edema, which is the liquid buildup in the abdomen. PKU, which is too much buildup of phenylalanine. Sickle cell anemia, abnormal shaped RBCs, which is shortness of breath, fatigue, poor oxygen regulation in extremities, immune, and malaria. Protozoan that loves oxygen can't be transported in the blood due to the lack of O2 because of the misshaped RBCs.